Hello everyone, Zeno here. Here to bring part 4 of What If Team RWBY were teleported into Red vs Blue. Link down description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Chapter 7, The X Factor. After their initial meeting with Tex and the awkward question that followed after, she had told all of them that she would speak with the girls herself for some girl talk. So Church, Tucker, and Caboose stood several feet away, while Tex was talking with the girls. Team RWBY watched as Tex was having her talk with Sister. I wonder what they're talking about, Ruby asked. From what I've seen about this Tex person, she's probably not saying anything good, Weiss said. Can you hear anything, Blake? Young asked. I'm trying to focus, Blake said. I can't get much, she's talking really fast. But from what I can tell, she telling Sister about the Blues. Calling them her idiots and jerks, then something about turning them against her, and her crying. That doesn't sound good, Ruby said. I also noticed something now that I can hear Tex talk more, Blake said as she faced her teammates. Did any of you notice that Tex sounds a lot like Professor Goodwitch? Ruby, Weiss, and Young finished. They all agreed that Tex sounded exactly like their professor at Beacon, Glinda Goodwitch. Well, if her personality is anything like the professor's, Weiss wondered. You four, Tex shouted to them. Get over here now. The four of them flinched at order. There were many differences between Tex and Professor Goodwitch, but one similarity between the two was the commanding tone in her voice. The four of them quickly made their way to her. Now, let's talk, Tex said facing the four of them. What do you want to talk about? Young asked, trying to sound calm, though being around Tex made her nervous, as if she needed to be ready for a fight. First of all, who are you? Tex said, her tone of someone demanding an answer. Okay then, Ruby said as she took a deep breath. She then pushed Weiss forward. Weiss, answer her question. What? Weiss said in shock. You answer, you're the leader. And as the leader, I'm delegating the task of explaining to you, Ruby said. Besides, you do it better. I don't care who it is, Tex said, her impatience growing. Just give me a damn answer. Weiss growled at Ruby's trick, but took a deep breath. Calm down. She then began to tell Tex the same story they told the Red and Blues, that they're from another dimension, and how they asked for help from the Reds and Blues. Or as close enough to help as they could give. Okay, Tex said, after hearing their explanation. Now, give me an explanation that's actually believable. But it's the truth, Ruby shouted. When Tex turned to look at her, she immediately hid behind Young. Seriously, Tex said, still not believing them. This bullshit might work with those idiots, but I'm smarter than them and less easy to trick, especially with a stupid lie like that. So tell me who you people really are and where you came from, or we're gonna have a problem. We are telling the truth, Blake said. Look at us, we don't know anything about this world or what was happening around here until the Reds and Blues told us. That could mean you're lying or you're stupid, Tex said. Probably the latter. Okay, that's it, Young said, a slight flicker of red in her eyes. Listen here, lady. I don't know who you think you are, but what we've told you is the truth. That's the only answer you're getting from us. And if you want a fight, we're more than capable of taking you. Tex was silent for a moment. Ruby, Weiss, and Blake looked at Young with shock at her outburst. Surprisingly, Tex actually chuckled a bit. You got balls, kid, I'll give you that. Alright, here's what's going to happen. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. As long as you don't get in my way, and nothing you're doing stops me from finding O'Malley, we won't have any problems. And, hypothetically, Ruby said. What if we accidentally did get in the way? You see those rocks? Tex pointed over to a rock at a distance. The four of them nodded. Now imagine that rock is you, Tex said as she tossed a grenade at the rock. It exploded after a few seconds. I hope it won't have to come to that. Why yes, Professor, Ruby said before realizing what she said. I mean ma'am. I mean Ms. Texwitch. I mean. Both Weiss and Blake placed their hands over Ruby's mouth to keep her from speaking any further. Tex said nothing as she walked away. Once she was at a distance, Weiss and Blake removed their hands from Ruby. If you want to die, go ahead, Weiss said. But please don't drag the rest of us along with you. She then looked at Young. That goes the same for you. Young just gave them an apologetic look and shrug. So, now what? Blake asked. Now, I get back to Red Base and try to find a way for us to get home, Weiss said. Have you thought of anything? Ruby asked. Weiss sighed. Unfortunately, I might have thought of something. But it would involve letting them use some of the experimental dust that brought us here in the first place. I thought we agreed that we weren't going to let them near the ship in the dust, Ruby reminded them. I know, Weiss said. But it's not as if we have many options. If that dust brought us here, maybe there's a way we can use it to send us back. So we'll just have to trust that the Reds won't keep some for themselves. Blake asked. Unless any of you came up with anything else, I'm all ears, Weiss said. No spoke up. It's settled then, Weiss said. Look guys, Yang said. I'm sure there's nothing to worry about. The Reds wouldn't be that smart to steal any dust. Besides, they seem like nice guys. We can trust them. Blake sighed. Both of you just keep an eye on them when they handle the dust. Got it, Yang said. Let's go. The two of them then made their way back to Red Base. As they left, Ruby and Blake began to hear Church shouting. They turned to see Church, Tucker, Caboose, and Doc talking with each other. Come on, Blake said. Let's go see what's Church mad about now. Don't be so negative, Blake, Ruby said. I mean, you don't have to assume Church is mad. I am so mad, Church shouted. Those were the words Ruby and Blake heard as they arrived to see what the commotion was about. What is it now? Blake asked. I'll tell you what's it about, Church said. Doc just came back from checking on Sheila, and his only diagnosis is that something's wrong with her, which we already knew. I'm a medic, Doc said. What do you want from me? How about fixing her? Church asked. Well, surprisingly my medical training didn't cover internal combustion, Doc replied sarcastically. Church growled. Okay, Ruby said, getting between the two to make sure Church didn't try to kill Doc. Let's just try figuring out a way to fix Sheila. Fine, Church said. Doc, go back down there and see if you can reboot Sheila. Reboot her, Blake said. Yeah, that's how you fix broken stuff, Tucker said. You turn her off, and then you turn her on again. She'll be fine. I don't think that'll work, Doc said. Pardon me, it works great, Church said. We already rebooted the toaster, we rebooted the teleporter. Yeah, I still don't know if that thing has all the bugs worked out, Tucker said. We even rebooted Caboose's armor once, Church said. Although, that took a lot longer to come back online than we thought it would. It was dark and I got to hold my breath, Caboose said. I'm pretty sure there was no side effects. Blake really doubted that. No, I mean I don't think it'll work because I'm not going back down there, Doc said. She's not exactly in the best of moods. As if on cue, Sheila fired at their general direction, causing the ground to shake from the blast. See, Doc stated. Yeah, we need to get someone sneaky down there who can turn her off, Church said. How about Tucker? Doc suggested. Who, me? Tucker said in surprise. No way. I'm a lover, not a sneaker. Is that your response to everything? Blake asked. What can I tell you? Tucker said, shrugging. I'm a lover, not a thinker. What about Ruby? Doc suggested again. No way, Ruby said. As much as I would love to have more time with the talking tank, I think I might just make her more angry. What about you, Blake? You can be sneaky when you need to. Only if it's night, and if I have better cover, Blake said. In case you didn't notice, we're in the middle of an open canyon that apparently doesn't get dark. How about Tex? Tucker suggested. After their talk, Tex had apparently gone to check around the canyon and do some reconnaissance. It was most likely an excuse to not speak with Church or the rest of Blue Team. Yeah, I don't think we could afford it, Church said. If only we knew someone that Sheila trusted. And it would have to be someone kinda dumb, so that we could fool them into betraying that trust, for our purposes. As he finished speaking, everyone looked at Caboose. Hey, Caboose said, looking at Church and the rest. Everyone is looking at me. I love when they do that. Hi everybody. After Weiss and Yang split up from Ruby and Blake, they headed first to their crashed bullhead before going back to Red Base. They had picked up several canisters full of crystals of the experimental dust, hoping it was enough for Simmons to work with. When they did arrive in Red Base, they were not surprised to see Simmons once again yelling at Griff. What did surprise them was to see a still unconscious Sarge on the base floor. Hey, You brought Sarge back in the base, Yang said, stopping Simmons shouting. Why's he still unconscious? Weiss asked. She looked at Simmons. Did you knock him out again? Okay, first of all, we have no proof of that, Simmons said defensively. Second, if you want to know why he's still knocked out, it was Griff's fault. Hey, Griff shouted, offended. Well, it's true, Simmons said. Griff, Yang said to him. Care to explain? Griff groaned. Fine, look, Simmons was busy fixing your scroll things, and you two took off to Blue Base, so it was left to me to bring Sarge back to the base. You carried him in the base by yourself? Weiss asked. Griff scoffed. No way. I used the Warthog. Specifically, he used the Warthog's tow hook, Simmons added. Wait, Weiss said, staring to realize what happened. You used the hook of your Jeep and placed it on Sarge. Pretty much, Griff replied. So you just drove your Jeep back to the base, dragging him behind, Weiss continued, her tone becoming even more exasperated. Yes, Griff said. That was kind of implied. Do you have any idea how dangerous that is? Weiss shouted. Hey, Griff said. I don't know why you're all complaining. I brought Sarge back to base, you should be happy. Besides, if our roles were reversed, Sarge would do the same thing to me. Well, he's not wrong, Simmons admitted. Weiss just sighed as she turned to Simmons. Anyway, we want you to help us work on these. She held up the canisters of dust. This is the dust that brought us here. Isn't dust supposed to look like powder? Griff said, looking at the canister. This is another form of dust, Weiss clarified. What do you want me to do with it? Simmons asked. We were hoping you could figure out a way to use it so we can go back home, Yang explained. Simmons took one of the canisters and examined it. Maybe if I can hook up this dust into some sort of transport system, like one of the teleporters, I could recalibrate it. Well, this is turning into nerd talk, Griff said. If anyone needs me, I'll be taking a nap. So, don't need me. He then walked off. Simmons just shook his head. I guess that just leaves three of. He then saw that Yang was gone as well. Where's Yang? Weiss turned around and saw Yang was gone. She sighed. Knowing her, she probably decided to leave this work to us and went off to do something else. You just can't have good help. I feel your pain, Simmons agreed. Well then, Weiss said. Shall we get to work? Well, I suppose I should figure out a way to get Tex to reboot Sheila, Church said. Where is she anyway? Ruby scanned the canyon and soon pointed at Tex, who was going around Blue Base. Great, Church said unenthusiastically. Man, I'm gonna have to call in a lot of favors for this one. What favors could you possibly have stored up with someone who dumped you? Tucker asked. She didn't dump me, Tucker, it was mutual, Church clarified. I doubt that, Blake muttered quietly. Mutual in what way? Tucker said. Mutual in the sense that you were both single the moment after she dumped you. Yeah, that way, Church replied flatly. Caboose, Ruby, let's go explain the plan to Tex. Why is Ruby going with you? Blake asked. Ruby also gave a questioning look. Because in the off chance that one of us might piss her off, we probably have better odds of not getting killed by her if we have a kid present, Church explained. Good point, Blake agreed. Just make sure nothing happens to her. Hey, if anyone's getting hurt, it'll probably be us, Church said. Wish us luck. Church, Caboose, and Ruby then headed to Tex. Yeah right, Tucker said. Hey, when she kills you I'm gonna sell your armor to that pink guy on the red team. I hear he's in the market. You do know that the pink guy is dead, right? Blake told Tucker. Oh, really? Tucker said. I guess I'll sell it to someone else. Sup? Tucker, Doc, and Blake turned to see Sister standing beside them. Who's the yellow one? Doc asked. That's Sister, Blake said. She's new, Tucker said. No one told me about a new arrival, Doc said. I'm supposed to examine everyone before they assume active duty. Don't sweat it. I already checked her out for you, Tucker said. Diagnosis, FINE. That spells fine. Thanks, Doc said sarcastically. But I think a trained medical professional should be the one too. I'm a doctor of love, Tucker said. PhD. Certified Luvology, General Horrorstitioner. Sex psychologist. Blake just shook her head at how ridiculous Tucker sounded right now. First of all, love is not an officially recognized specialty, Doc stated. And also, PhDs. Peef, not really doctors. Dude, you a dork, Tucker said. You're one to talk, Blake commented. Anyway, Doc turned to sister. Hello, I'm the medic. If it's alright with you, I need to give you a quick physical examination since you're new. Do you want to come to base where you might feel more comfortable taking off all your clothes? Sure, lead the way, sister replied. See ya, Tucker. Bye, Blake. The two of them then headed inside the base. What the fuck just happened? Tucker asked in confusion. I think you just got shot down, Blake said, trying to hide a small smile at seeing Tucker's shock. When Church, Caboose, and Ruby reached Tex, Church began to explain their plan. So Caboose is gonna be up front talking to her, and then while he's got her distracted, you sneak around the back, access the panel, and shut her down, Church finished. Okay, Tex said after a moment. I'll do it. Wait, really? Ruby said. From the little time that she knew Tex, she considered Tex as someone who wouldn't agree to something like this so quickly. You will. Church was confused as well. No bargaining. No ridiculous demands. No, Tex replied. I'm trying to find O'Malley and his friend. In a way, you guys are helping me. If anyone should be making demands, it should be you. Really? Ruby said, a little glad that they might actually get something from this. Oh, Church said. Well, in that case, we want. Too late, Tex said. Deal's done. Damn it, Church cursed. Ruby was also sad at the missed opportunity. So, Caboose spoke up. How should I distract Sheila? You could just talk to her. Ruby suggested. Yeah, talk to her, Church agreed. Keep her attention, that's it. I don't know, Caboose said. We kinda have a history. And, she may not want to talk to me. History. Ruby said to Church, looking for an answer to Caboose's statement. Short version is Caboose was sorta in love with Sheila, Church said. It was weird. That doesn't sound weird at all, Ruby said. If she had the chance to have a talking crescent rose, she wouldn't be ashamed to admit she'd probably be in love with it as well. You don't choose who or what you love. Whatever, Church said as he turned his attention back to Caboose. Caboose, you'll be fine. Tex and I have a history, doesn't mean we can't be professional and hold a conversation. I wouldn't exactly call them conversations, Tex interjected. Church groaned. Get off my back, woman, can't you see I'm working here? Please, Tex said. You call this working? Okay, that's enough, Ruby said, getting between the two. No need to fight. See, this is exactly what could happen with me and Sheila, Caboose said. Only with more getting shot by tanks. Caboose, if that happened, I'm sure the shell would just bounce off you and land on me somehow, Church said. Ruby snickered a little at hearing that, imagining the scenario as something from a cartoon. Church gave her a look that made her stop. He then turned back to Caboose. Just smooth talk her. I don't know how to do that, Caboose said. Just tell her she's pretty, Church suggested. Or that she's got that new tank smell or something. Compliment her treads, it doesn't matter. I don't know, Caboose said. It's easy, Church said. Look here, just practice on Ruby. Ruby gave Caboose a wide smile, happy to help him. Or on Tex, Church continued. She's womanish. Pardon me, Tex said, some slight offense in her tone. Do you want Caboose to run decoy for you, or do you want to try this on your own? Church offered. Sheila fired another shell in their general direction, exploding behind Tex. I see your point, Tex said. Go ahead, Church said to Caboose. Caboose then approached Ruby and Tex. At that moment, Tucker and Blake approached Church. Hello Ruby and Tex, Caboose began. Dude, Tucker said to Church. You will not believe what Doc just pulled off. Shut up, Tucker, Church said. Don't interrupt. Interrupt what? Tucker asked. What's going on? Blake asked as well. Caboose began speaking. Ruby, I think you are a nice girl with a nice red hood, and I was happy when you helped me off the floor. And Tex, I think you are pretty, and you haven't hurt my body in a long time. So I was hoping that we could talk and be friends maybe and hold hands, and both of you would go with me. And when we go out together, you would be my real girlfriends. Oh, Caboose, Ruby answered sweetly. I would love to. I think that would be nice, Caboose, Tex replied, forcing the words out of her mouth. We should, definitely do that. Blake was suppressing a laugh, finding the entire odd scene somewhat sweet. Tucker on the other hand stepped forward. What the hell? Tucker shouted. Ruby, Tex, have you gone crazy? If you wanna get with somebody, get with me, the love doctor. I'm a real man. I will rock your fucking world. Both Tex and Ruby looked at Church. Ruby's expression was one of confusion and cluelessness with Tucker's inclusion in the scenario. Tex looked at Church for an explanation. Hey, don't look at me, Church said. He's not part of the plan. Tex responded by punching Tucker right in his jaw. Ow. Tucker yelled as he fell to the ground. What is going on around here? What's going on is that you're an idiot, Blake said. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to use Tucker's rock your world line, Caboose said. I think I'm gonna stick with my own material. Okay, Church said. Let's try this again. Chapter 8, Trial and Error. After several more practices, the plan to reboot Sheila was about to begin. Church, Caboose, Ruby, and Blake were crouching as Sheila was moving around the base. Tex was preparing to head behind Sheila once Caboose began his distraction. I don't know what to say, Caboose said. He was beginning to get nervous with this entire plan. Caboose, you'll do fine, Ruby assured him. Just stay calm, Blake added. And don't be nervous. Go out there, hold her attention, and don't say anything stupid, Church said. No wait, be natural. Say stupid stuff. Go. Caboose then began walking towards Sheila, who stopped once she saw Caboose. Hello Sheila, Caboose said, a slight tremble in his voice. How are you doing? As Sheila's attention was drawn to Caboose, Tex began to sneak up behind Sheila. Oh, hello Caboose. Actually, I'm not functioning at my optimal capacity, Sheila said. My internal diagnostics indicate I am having mechanical issues. How are you? Caboose was growing more nervous and was now at a loss for words. Caboose, Church whispered loudly. Say good. What? Caboose said, turning slightly to where Church, Ruby, and Blake were hiding. Oh right, good. Pretty good. Really good. I am great. I am absolutely perfect. That's too good, Church said. Now I am depressed, Cabos said, making a complete 180 on his words. I am doing bad, I don't know if I can go on. I don't think he's doing great, Ruby whispered. What was your first clue? Blake said in a deadpan. You seem distracted Caboose, Sheila said. I am not distracted, Caboose said, starting to panic. I am not distracted. I am distracting. See, that's different cause I'm doing it you. What? Sheila asked. What? Church, Ruby, and Blake said as well. I mean I'm very distractible, Caboose said quickly. With a high degree of distractivity-ness. Change the subject, Blake whispered. Okay, Caboose whispered back to them before turning back to Sheila. Sheila, have you seen Tex? What? Church shouted. Ruby and Blake quickly pulled him back down. I mean, what? He whispered this time. What? Sheila said as well. Sheila, do you know what my favorite thing to do is? Caboose said, the panic rising in his voice. Not look behind myself. You should try not doing that. Sheila said nothing and continued to look at Caboose. Do you like to collect stamps? Caboose asked, trying to continue stalling. He's dead, Blake said. Hey Caboose, Church said. I think it's wrong for all of us to die because you're an idiot, so we're gonna take off now. We can't leave him, Ruby said to Church. Then you two stay, I'm outta here, Church then got up. I'll see ya, bye. He then headed away. Please don't go, Caboose pleaded. Don't worry Caboose, we're not going anywhere, Ruby assured him. Right Blake. Unfortunately, Blake muttered. I am not leaving, Sheila said, moving closer to Caboose. Oh good, Caboose said nervously. Good, stay. You are acting strangely, Sheila said. And I would like to find out why. Oh, okay. Caboose said. Caboose, the Omega AI has been missing, and everyone has been attempting to find him, Sheila stated. If you continue to act erratically, they may mistakenly think he is inside of you, and take drastic measures against you. Oh, Caboose said. I wouldn't want them to do that. Exactly, Sheila said. Luckily, I know where Omega is. You do, Caboose said. I thought that AI thing was in her, Ruby said to Blake. Maybe she's lying, Blake said. Or maybe we made a mistake in thinking where Omega is. Where is he? Caboose asked. He is inside Blue Ore. Sheila stopped speaking as she shut down. Got it, Tex said as she came up from behind Sheila, having shut her down. So close, Ruby said. We only needed a few more seconds, Blake said. Who is Blur? Caboose asked, not understanding that Sheila was off. Come on, Blake said. Let's go see if we can get any actual answers. After finding Yang, who was relieving some stress by breaking several rocks, Weiss forced Yang to help Simmons recover the teleporter. They were slowly moving the teleporter inside the base, where Weiss was waiting for them. They then carefully placed it on the ground. I can't believe you had this teleporter around and don't use it, Weiss said. Yeah, Yang said. You just had it lying around with a bunch of other junk. Well, it's not exactly functioning the way it's supposed to, Simmons said. I mean, it did work before, but then Sarge decided to make some adjustments. What did he do? Weiss asked, though if it involved Sarge, she already knew it was something idiotic. He decided to replace the power cell with diesel, Simmons said. Diesel, Yang said. It's the fuel we use for our vehicles, Simmons explained. Which apparently, should not be used with highly sensitive technology. The teleporter got busted after that and we threw it out. But you can make it work? Weiss asked. I think so, Simmons said. If I can just replace the circuitry and hook it up with your dust, I should theoretically be able to use the teleporter as a doorway back to your dimension. Weiss nodded, understanding Simmons' idea, while Yang just gave a confused look from the explanation. I have no idea what you just said, but if it gets us home, I hope it works, Yang said. As they talked, they heard Sarge began to stir. I think your sergeant is waking up, Weiss said. Oh, great, Simmons said unenthusiastically. You're not gonna try and knock him out again, are you? Yang asked. No, Simmons said abruptly. Anyway, Weiss, fill him in on what's happened and what we're doing. What? Weiss shouted. I don't want to talk to him. Why can't you do it? Because I'm trying to fix this machine to get you all home, and I need Yang to help me carry this back to my workplace. Simmons and Yang then picked up the teleporter and began moving it. Good luck, Yang said to her teammate as they walked off. Oh, and don't tell him the truth about why he was knocked out for so long. Simmons added before they were gone from Weiss' view. Weiss groaned in frustration as she was abandoned. She then turned around as she was now face to face with an awakened Sarge. What in the hell has been going on? Sarge shouted. Hello, Sarge, Weiss said, irritated. What's the last thing you remember? Well, last thing I remember was getting ready to be buried, Sarge recalled. After that, complete darkness. He then looked at Weiss. Hey, wait a second, didn't you and the girl in the red cloak go over to the blue base? Weiss sighed. You might want to sit down. You've missed a lot. After pretty much abandoning Weiss to deal with Sarge, Simmons and Yang finally reached Simmons' quarters. Once they did, they placed the teleporter down. Phew, Simmons said. Finally, we're here. Man, this thing is heavy. Really, Yang said. Barely felt anything. Of course you didn't, Simmons said, remembering Yang's unnatural strength. Hey, I've been meaning to ask. How are you so strong? Well, that's all natural talent, Yang said. She decided not to mention her semblance, not wanting to confuse Simmons. Hey, Griff shouted as he entered Simmons' quarters. Will you keep it down? I'm doing some important stuff. Sleeping is not important, Simmons said. It is when you're practicing to sleep while standing, Griff said. That way, I can get some shut-eye when you or Sarge yell at me. Wait, won't they know that you're not awake if you don't talk? Yang pointed out. Easy fix, Griff continued. I just record what I usually say to them. They'll never know the difference. You're an idiot, Simmons said. An idiot who can sleep through your nagging, Griff said. He then saw the teleporter. Hey, what are you guys doing? Actual work, Simmons said. We're going to use this teleporter and try to get me and my team back home, Yang said. Oh, Griff said. Okay then. Good luck with that. Oh ho ho, Simmons said as he grabbed Griff and pulled him back before he could leave. You're not going anywhere. You're helping. What? Griff whined. This is all science-wise stuff. I can't help you with this. No, but you can help with adjusting the wiring and anything else that I tell you to do, Simmons said. You can't tell me what to do, Griff said. You're not the leader. As long as Sarge is still passed out, I am, Simmons said. But we just saw, Yang began to say. That Sarge was still passed out, Simmons insisted. Which means Griff still has to listen to me, right? Oh, right, Yang said, understanding what Simmons was doing. So start getting to work, Simmons ordered. Griff groaned. I think I miss being stuck between the ship. Back at Blue Base, Caboose, Ruby, and Blake were talking with Church regarding the information that Sheila could have. This meant they needed to switch her back on, which was something Church was very against doing. You want us to turn her back on again? After we just went through all that trouble to shut her down, Church said, incredulous at their suggestion. But she said she knows where O'Malley is, Caboose said. Maybe she was lying, Church said. But what if she wasn't, Ruby said. What if she does know where O'Malley is? How the hell would she even know about that? Church said. This sounds like a trap. Even if it does sound strange, you don't exactly have any leads about where this AI is, Blake said. Lying or not, you need to consider the possibility she could actually know something. Church groaned. He then turned to Tex. What do you think, Tex? Can we turn her back on again? Disable her guns or something? Not a chance, Tex said as she went through Sheila's circuitry. She's a wreck back here. I'm not even sure how she was operational anyway. Oh, I know, Caboose said. We could put her inside my head. Like O'Malley. I've got lots of extra room in there. Yeah, I bet, Church muttered. And no, she's not that kind of AI. Wait, you can put an AI in your head? Ruby asked, a little weirded out by the idea. In Omega's case, he just hijacks people's bodies when they're on the radio, Church explained. But don't worry, you need to be wearing a helmet radio for him to get to you. We could move Sheila, Tex said. But it would have to be in a similar class of vehicle. Yeah, if only we had some other kind of big vehicle we could move her into, Church pondered. We can't use the Warthog, that doesn't have anything. Church stopped talking after Blake tapped him in the shoulder. What? Church said. What about the ship that crashed? Blake suggested. The ship, Church said. Hey yeah, the ship. Tex, what if we Sheila in the ship? Could we move her into one of those onboard computers? If we set up a hard line, yeah, I bet we could do it, Tex said. Church, wait. They all turned to see Tucker coming out from the base and running towards them. What is he doing? Blake asked. He's running really fast, Ruby said. I mean, not as fast as me, but still pretty fast. Church, hold on a second, Tucker said as he got closer to them. I've got something to tell you. Tucker, what? Church said. What is it? Tucker soon reached them and stopped running. I just wanted to say, I got a hard line Tex can use. Bo chicka bow wow. Everyone, minus Ruby and Caboose, groaned at Tucker's inappropriate joke. I don't understand, Ruby said. What does he mean by hard? Don't, Blake said. I'll explain it to you when you're older. How did you even hear that? Tex said. Peef, Tucker said. I'm like Superman. I know when I'm needed. Before their conversation could go any further, they all heard a loud explosion. They turned to the direction of the explosion and saw smoke rising from the area. What the heck was that? Ruby screamed. Quit shouting. Tex shouted. I don't know what that was, but that explosion came from Red Base. That means they're all probably dead or dying, Tucker said. Weiss and Yang are there, Blake said. We need to go check on them, now. Now, wait a minute, Church said. We don't know what happened with the Reds. We can't just go there without. My sister could be hurt. Ruby shouted. I don't have time to think. She turned to Blake, who nodded in agreement. Ruby then grabbed onto Blake. Hold on. Wait, wah. Blake failed to finish her sentence before Ruby gripped Blake's wrist and began to run, using her semblance. The two of them then disappeared from the sight of the Blues, leaving a dust trail as they headed to Red Base. How did they do that? Tucker shouted, stunned at how fast Ruby ran. Church groaned. Come on. The last thing we need are dead kids in a canyon. He then followed the lingering dust trail, with Tucker and Tex following from behind. Oh my god. Caboose suddenly shouted, finally speaking several seconds after the explosion. What was that huge explosion? Ruby immediately stopped once she and Blake arrived at Red Base. Once they stopped, Blake pulled her arm free from Ruby's. She was feeling extremely dazed from experiencing Ruby's semblance. Never do that again. Sorry, Ruby apologized. The two of them turned to Red Base and saw smoke coming out of the door. Soon after, two figures began to run out of the base. Ruby and Blake were glad to Young and Weiss were the ones coming out. Sarge, Griff, and Simmons soon followed out as well. Young, Ruby shouted as she ran to her sister, giving her a tight hug. Okay, Ruby, calm down, Young said, pulling her sister off of her. We're all right. What happened? Blake asked. Yeah, what the fuck happened? They all saw Church, Tucker, and Tex arrive at the scene. Caboose, though still close to Blue Base, was also heading to them as well. Why don't you ask them, Weiss said, referring to the Griff and Simmons. It's their fault we almost died. A few minutes earlier, after the busted power cell from the teleporter was removed, Simmons had began working on making a new power source using the crystallized dust that Young gave. Eventually, he was able to place the dust into a power core that he made from junk around the base. Simmons then explained that all that was needed was to connect the wires from the teleporter to the dust-powered core. Theoretically, the dust should power up the teleporter, giving it the same energy as the dust. Then, all Team RWBY would have to do is go through it and they would be sent home. All they needed to test it was to connect the wires to core. This was a very risky test, since they had no idea what could happen. Which was why Griff was doing it. Okay, now slowly connect the wires to the power core, Simmons instructed. I do not feel safe doing this, Griff said as he held the two wire on his hands. You don't have to feel safe, you just have to do what I say, Simmons said. Why can't Young do it? Griff asked. Because Young isn't wearing any armor to protect her, Simmons pointed out. Griff, don't worry, Young assured him. I'm sure nothing bad will happen. Then why are you standing outside the room? Griff asked. Oh, did you hear that? Young said, trying to avoid the question. I think Weiss needs my help. Got to go, good luck. Before Griff could say anything else, Young was already gone. Griff, come on, just do it, Simmons said. Fine, Griff said. But, if this kills me, consider your ass haunted. Slowly, Griff connected both wires to the dust core. In the instant the wires connected to the core, there was a spark, followed by a huge explosion, blasting both Griff and Simmons out of the room, which was now on fire. Oh my god, all my stuff. Simmons shouted. Forget your stuff, we need to get out of here now. Griff shouted. To be clear, it was Griff's fault, Simmons said. You're the one who told me to connect the wires, Griff said. So it's your fault. It's both your fault, you nitwits. Sarge shouted. You just destroyed our base of operations with your weird experimenting. Now, because of your incompetence, the Blues have decided to take advantage of our vulnerable state to attack. No, Tucker said. We just came to see what the fuck you guys were doing. Which is the usual shit, Church said. Caboose finally made it to the group. So, what are we talking about? Just the Reds trying to kill themselves, Tucker said. Fuck you, Griff said. Okay, enough. Blake shouted, stopping both teams from further arguing. She then turned to Simmons. Please tell me that you got some insight from this little experiment. Well actually, I did, Simmons said. The dust core didn't work because the teleporter was already old and damaged. For this to work, I think we'll need a working teleporter. Sure, let's just go to a teleporter store and go get one, Griff said sarcastically. It's not like there are any working teleporters lying around for us to use. What about our teleporter? Caboose suggested. Caboose, shut up, Church said. Actually, that could work, Weiss said. You do have a teleporter back in your base. Yeah, a teleporter that doesn't work that well, Tucker muttered. We don't need it to be used as a teleporter, Simmons explained. We just need to have it working when we hook it up with the dust core. That way, it could work this time. Or, you could make an even bigger explosion, Young pointed out. To be clear, I am not connecting any more wires, Griff stated. I have no idea what you're all doing, but count me in, Sarge said. I've been out of it for a long while and from what Weiss told me, you need my wise leadership to put this whole thing back into working order. Reet, Griff said. Weiss, what did you tell him? Young asked. I just told him that he tripped and hit his head and, Weiss said. He then started making up ludicrous ideas about how the Reds were useless without him. That means he's back to normal, Griff said, disappointed. And it's nice to have you back, sir, Simmons said. Now then, Sarge said. You said we need a teleporter, well the Blues have themselves a working one. Yeah, it's our teleporter, Tucker said. And what makes you think we're just going to let you use it? Well, we're not asking, Sarge said. In fact, we plan on taking your teleporter. He then raised his shotgun. Team RWBY groaned at the potential fight about to happen. Guys, we don't need to fight, Ruby said. I'm sure Church would love to help us get home. Yeah, good luck convincing Church to help the Reds, Tucker said. Alright, we'll help, Church said. What? Tex and Tucker said. What? Red Team said, confused as well. See, I told you he'd help, Ruby said, smiling. Church, what are you doing? Tex asked. I'm helping them, Church said. Last I checked, the Reds were your enemies, and now you're giving them access to your base and teleporter, Tex said. Plus, since when did you start helping anyone? Hey, I'm only doing this so that we can get Ruby and her team out of here and back to wherever they came from, Church said. Once they're gone, we can get back to what we usually do. So, standing around and talking and not doing anything useful, Tucker said. Exactly, Church said. Besides, I'd rather keep an eye on the Reds and not have them blow up the entire canyon. So, are you gonna help, or not? After putting out the fire, the Reds salvaged what they could, including the remaining dust crystals. After several hours they created another power core, one built by Tex, meaning it was sturdier and a better containment for the dust. They then went to Blue Base and removed their teleporter from the base. Using some cables, they extended the teleporter and brought it in the middle of the canyon. So now here they all were. The Reds, the Blues, and Team RWBY together. This time, they had a long wire cable from the teleporter to where they stood, which was a few feet away, in case there were any more mishaps. Are we ready to do this? Church asked. Let's just hope that this time, there won't be any more explosions, Ruby said. Well, look on the bright side, Sarge said. If this doesn't work and we all die, at least the Blues will die with us. Only you would see that as a bright side, Weiss said. Alright then, Tex said, holding the new dust core. Let's see what this thing can do. Tex placed the two wires into the core. Once this happened, the core began to glow white. The teleporter began to glow in the same white energy. Suddenly there was bright flash of light that seemed to cover the entire canyon. This caused Team RWBY to cover their eyes. The light was so bright that even the Reds and Blues shielded their faces. The light soon subsided and they all opened their eyes. Some of them held some expectations of what would happen, mostly more explosions, but the last thing they expected was to see several animal-like creatures show up. There were two distinct types that resembled wolves and bears. They were covered in black fur and had bone-like masks and red eyes. Yes, Team RWBY were not expecting to come face to face with the creatures of Grimm. And they were not at all pleased to be surrounded by them. And this the end of part 4 this What If. I hope you guys like it. Don't really leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.